The Planets Awaken introduction. For billions of years, humanity has looked into the night sky and wondered what was out there. We gave the planets names. We studied their surfaces. We measured their temperatures. We watched their storms. We sent machines across the solar system to learn about them. And yet, there was always one question we could never answer. Were the planets truly silent, or were we simply unable to hear them? For billions of years, nothing seemed to change. Mercury continued racing around the sun. Venus remained hidden beneath its thick clouds. Earth continued turning beneath the stars. Mars remained cold and red. Jupiter continued spinning through space, carrying its enormous storms. Saturn continued wearing its beautiful rings. Uranus continued drifting through the darkness, and Neptune remained at the edge of the solar system. Everything was normal, until one night, the planets awakened. Chapter 1, The First Signal. It began at exactly 2:17 in the morning. At first nobody noticed. There were no explosions, no earthquakes, no strange lights in the sky, nothing that would make the average person look outside their window. But high above Earth, a satellite suddenly detected something unusual, a signal. It was extremely weak, so weak that the computer almost ignored it. But then another satellite detected the exact same signal, then another, then another. Within minutes, scientists around the world were looking at the same strange pattern. 3 pulses, a pause, 3 pulses, another pause, then 5 pulses. The pattern repeated again and again. At the International Space Observation Center, a scientist named Dr. Maya Reyes stared at the screen. She had been studying the solar system for almost 20 years. She had seen strange readings before. She had seen solar storms, magnetic disturbances, radio interference, even signals that appeared mysterious at first, but eventually had completely normal explanations. But this was different. Maya leaned closer to the screen. Run the signal through every filter. Her assistant looked at her, already did. Run it again. It won't change anything, I know. The assistant pressed a button. The computer processed the signal. A few seconds later, a message appeared. Source identified. Maya's expression changed. Where? The assistant swallowed. Mercury. Maya stared at him. Mercury? Yes. That's impossible. I thought so too. Maya looked back at the screen. Mercury was the closest planet to the sun. It was a world of extreme temperatures, ancient craters, and a weak magnetic field. There was no known technology there, no civilization, no machinery capable of producing a signal like this. Maya whispered, "So what are we hearing?" Nobody answered. Then the signal changed. 3 pulses. A pause, 3 pulses, a pause, 5 pulses, and suddenly the entire building went dark. Chapter 2, Mercury. For 12 seconds, the observation center had no electricity. Then everything came back. Every computer, every light, every monitor. But something had changed. The signal was gone. Maya looked at the screen. Where did it go? The assistant checked the instruments. It stopped. Completely. Maya stood there silently. Then another scientist shouted, "Wait!" Everyone turned. He pointed toward the main display. A live image of Mercury appeared. The planet was glowing, not because of sunlight. Something was happening beneath its surface. A faint golden light had appeared across the northern hemisphere. Then another and another. Thin lines of light spread across the planet like veins. Maya couldn't believe what she was seeing. "What is that?" The scientist zoomed in. "I don't know." The glowing lines became brighter. Then Mercury released a pulse. The pulse traveled through space, past Venus, past Earth, and directly into the sun. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the sun flashed. Not an explosion, not a solar flare, just one enormous pulse of light. And every planet in the solar system responded. Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, one after another, they began to glow. Maya whispered, "They're connected." The assistant looked at her. "Connected to what?" Maya didn't answer, because she had just realized something. Mercury wasn't communicating with Earth. Mercury was communicating with the other planets. Chapter 3, Venus. The next morning, the entire world knew something was wrong. News channels showed images of Venus. Its clouds were moving faster than ever recorded. Massive storms were forming across the planet. Lightning flashed continuously inside the atmosphere. Scientists watched in disbelief. One reporter asked, "Could this be a natural event?" A scientist responded, "We don't know." Another reporter asked, "Is Earth in danger?" The scientist paused. "We don't know." That answer frightened people more than anything else. Across the world, people looked toward the sky, but Venus couldn't normally be seen during the day, so they waited. As night arrived, telescopes were pointed toward the planet. Then Venus appeared, and something incredible happened. The clouds formed a perfect spiral, a massive spiral stretching thousands of miles across the atmosphere. Maya watched the image from the observation center. She whispered, "It's a pattern." Her assistant asked, "A pattern? Look at the center." The scientists zoomed in. Inside the storm was a shape. It looked almost like an eye. Maya stared at it. Then the screen changed. Letters appeared, not words, numbers. Millions of numbers. The computer began translating them. Maya watched the calculations. Finally, a message appeared. "We remember." Maya stepped backward. "Who sent that?" Nobody answered. Then the message changed. "We have been waiting." Chapter 4, Mars. 3 hours later, Mars awakened. The red planet had been quiet for millions of years, but deep beneath its surface, something began moving. The ground shook. Dust rose into the thin atmosphere. Then a gigantic crack appeared across the surface. It stretched for hundreds of miles. A red-orange glow emerged from beneath the ground. Scientists immediately detected the energy. Maya looked at the readings. "That's enormous." Her assistant said, "Is Mars becoming active?" Maya shook her head. "No." "What do you mean, no?" "Something is activating it." The room became silent. "Activating it?" Maya pointed at the data. "Look at the pattern." The energy from Mars was moving outward, but it wasn't moving randomly. It was traveling toward Earth. A wave of energy crossed the solar system. When it reached Earth, every electrical device on the planet flickered. Phones turned on, televisions changed channels, computers restarted, radio stations were interrupted. Then every screen showed the same thing, Mars. And beneath the image were 4 words, "Do you remember us?" People around the world stared at their screens. Nobody understood, but Maya did. Or at least she thought she did. She whispered, "They're talking to Earth." Chapter 5, Jupiter. Then came Jupiter. The largest planet in the solar system began changing. Its magnetic field expanded, its radiation belts intensified, and its enormous storm, the great red spot, began spinning faster. Scientists initially feared the worst. They thought Jupiter might be experiencing some kind of catastrophic atmospheric event, but then they noticed something strange. The storm wasn't growing, it was shrinking. Slowly, the great red spot became smaller and smaller until its shape changed. It became a perfect circle. Then the circle began glowing. A signal emerged from Jupiter. This signal was stronger than anything Earth had ever detected. Every radio telescope on the planet received it. Maya listened to the transmission. At first, there was only static. Then came a deep sound. 3 seconds of silence. Then another sound. And another. The scientists translated the pattern. It wasn't a language, it was a warning. Maya stared at the final message. "Something is coming." Her assistant looked at her. "Something from where?" Maya looked at the solar system map. She followed the signal beyond Jupiter, beyond Saturn, beyond Uranus, and finally beyond Neptune. She whispered outside, Saturn's message. Saturn awakened next. Its rings began moving. At first, scientists thought it was a gravitational disturbance, but the movement was too precise. The rings began forming enormous shapes, circles, triangles, lines, patterns. Then the rings separated into sections. Scientists watched as the patterns formed a map of the solar system: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Then the map expanded. Beyond Neptune, a black region appeared. Something was there, something enormous. Maya stared at it. How long has that been there? The scientists checked the telescope records. "We've never seen it before." "That's not what I asked." He looked at her. "How long?" He checked older data, then older data, then even older data. Finally, he looked up. "It's been there." Maya's eyes widened. "How long?" The scientists answered quietly, "At least 400 years." Nobody spoke. The object had been hiding beyond Neptune, watching, waiting, and now it was moving. Chapter 7. The outer planets Uranus awakened. A strange blue glow surrounded the planet. Its magnetic field shifted. Then Neptune responded. The two planets released enormous waves of energy. The waves traveled toward each other. When they met, a barrier formed around the outer solar system. Maya watched the readings. What are they doing? The scientist answered, they're building something. A weapon. I don't think so. Then what? He looked at the screen. A shield. Maya looked toward the stars. The mysterious object beyond Neptune was getting closer. It was enormous, too large to be a normal planet, too organized to be an asteroid, and far too dark to be a star. Then something happened. The object stopped. Every planet became silent. For the first time since the awakening began, there was no signal, no energy, no movement, nothing. Maya waited. 10 seconds passed, 20, 30. Then the object sent one message. We are not the three. Maya stared at the words. Her assistant whispered, then what is? The answer appeared. You. Chapter 8, Earth. The message disappeared across Earth. People panicked. Governments ordered emergency meetings. Scientists worked around the clock. Satellites were redirected. Telescopes pointed toward the outer solar system. Nobody knew what was happening. But Maya refused to believe the planets were threatening humanity. She returned to the original signals. 3 pulses, 5 pulses. She studied them again. Then she noticed something. The signals weren't saying words. They were describing something. A sequence, a history. Maya began decoding it. Millions of years passed across the screen. The formation of the solar system, the birth of the planets, the cooling of Earth, the appearance of life, then humanity, then the message changed. Maya froze. The sequence showed Earth, then the other planets, then a dark shape approaching. Maya whispered, they've seen this before. Her assistant asked, what? Maya pointed to the screen. This isn't the first time. The planets had awakened before. Not once, not twice, but many times. And every time something approached the solar system, the planets had awakened to defend it. Maya looked toward Earth. We aren't being attacked. She paused. We're being protected. Chapter 9, The Choice. The next message came from Earth itself. Every person on the planet heard the same voice. It wasn't coming from a TV. It wasn't coming from a phone. It wasn't coming from a radio. It seemed to come from everywhere. The voice said, Earth. People looked toward the sky. We have watched you. We have watched your oceans. We have watched your continents. We have watched life rise. We have watched life disappear. And we have watched you. Maya listened. The voice continued. You are the youngest world. You are also the loudest. You have reached beyond your world. You have touched the planets. You have listened to their voices. And now they have listened to yours. Maya stepped toward the microphone. Who are you? The voice answered, we are the memory of the solar system. Maya looked at the other scientists. The voice continued, we do not control the planets. We are the planets. The room became silent. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. They weren't separate. They were connected. They were one system, one family, one memory. Maya asked, why did you wake up now? The answer came immediately, because something has returned. Chapter 10. The visitor beyond Neptune, the mysterious object began moving again. It traveled faster, closer, closer, until it reached the outer edge of the solar system. Neptune's shield brightened. Uranus responded. Saturn's rings began spinning. Jupiter's magnetic field expanded. Mars began glowing. Venus's storms intensified. Mercury flashed with golden light. Then the sun awakened. The entire solar system became brighter than ever before. The mysterious object finally came into view. It was not a planet. It was not a ship. It was a structure. An enormous structure floating through space. Its surface was covered with thousands of glowing lines. Maya stared at it. Then the structure opened. Not like a door, like an eye. A massive circle of light appeared at its center, and suddenly Maya heard a voice, not through the speakers, inside her mind. Do you remember? Maya whispered, no. The voice replied, you will. Then the structure released a wave of energy. The wave traveled through Neptune, then Uranus, then Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Earth, Venus, Mercury, and finally the Sun. The entire solar system flashed. For one moment, every planet glowed, then everything stopped. Chapter 11, The Awakening. The next morning, Earth was quiet, no strange signals, no earthquakes, no mysterious storms. The electricity worked normally. Satellites returned to operation. Television stations resumed broadcasting. Scientists checked their instruments. Everything looked normal. Maya walked outside. The sun was rising. She looked up. For a moment, she thought everything was over. Then she noticed something, the moon. It was still visible in the morning sky, but around it was a faint blue glow. Maya smiled. "You're still there." Her phone suddenly vibrated. One new message. She opened it. There were only 2 words, "Look up." Maya raised her head. The clouds began moving apart. One by one, bright objects appeared. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Not physically closer, not crashing toward Earth. Instead, their images appeared across the sky like enormous glowing reflections. People around the world stepped outside. Everyone was looking upward. Nobody knew what to say. Then a child asked, "Are the planets alive?" An adult answered, "We don't know." The child looked at the sky. "I think they are." Chapter 12, The Final Message. Maya returned to the observation center. The computers were running again, but there was one new signal. It wasn't coming from Mercury or Venus or Mars or Jupiter. It wasn't coming from Saturn, Uranus, or Neptune. It wasn't even coming from the mysterious structure. Maya checked the coordinates. Her expression changed. The signal was coming from Earth. She opened the transmission. A voice appeared. It was the same voice, but this time it sounded different. It sounded closer. "Earth," Maya listened. "You have awakened." She looked at the screen. "What does that mean?" The voice answered, "You are no longer alone." Maya stared at the stars. The voice continued, "For billions of years your world looked outward. Now look inward." Maya frowned. "What are you talking about?" The voice said one final sentence. "There is something beneath your world." The transmission ended. Maya stood completely still. Her assistant entered the room. "What happened?" Maya slowly turned around. The planets weren't waking up to protect us. Her assistant looked confused. "Then why?" Maya looked at the floor. "They were waking up, to wake us up." Suddenly the entire building shook, not violently, just enough to make the lights flicker. The computers turned on by themselves. Every screen displayed the same image, Earth. But this time, the image wasn't showing the surface. It was showing beneath it, deep beneath the oceans, deep beneath the continents, deep beneath the crust. Something was glowing. Something enormous, something ancient. Maya whispered, "What is that?" The screen changed. One final message appeared. "We have been here since the beginning." Maya stared. The screen went black. Outside, the planets continued shining in the morning sky. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and far beyond them, the mysterious structure waited. The solar system was awake. But humanity had only just begun to understand what that meant, because the planets had not awakened to begin a war. They had awakened to deliver a warning, and whatever was beneath Earth had just awakened too. The screen fades to black. The planets awaken. End of part 1.